everybody's always asking me why I like the bench press, because traditionally people like to talk tons and tons of shit on the bench press. So, in my mind, I always wonder, why does everybody like to talk shit on the bench? And I think the root of the bench shit talk is, everybody always says, "What's your bench?" Or you go into Gold's Gym or wherever, LA Fitness, and you see the sauced up meatheads that are just benching every day. One day they're doing, we're doing chest today, and then the next day they're doing like dumbbell chest, and the next day they're doing, Smith machine chest. So they're like always benching, and people have a negative view of these, saucehead meatheads because they're grunting, screaming. They might be obnoxious. I don't know. They can do whatever they want. I don't care, but. So people associate the bench press with those types of, grunting, screaming, macho men, whatever you want to call them. But I don't think it's necessarily warranted. With the bench press, it's great across all sports, and that includes even football. They used it in the NFL Combine a couple weeks ago. Ross Tucker who's an analyst, was sitting there going, I don't know why they test the bench press anymore. It's pointless. I don't know why these guys do this. And I think there's a few reasons why they do it. One is it just shows if these guys are really, really training hard. If there's a D tackle and he's benching 225 for 50 reps, he trained his ass off. But it also shows us that, in the first quarter of a game, he can put out a lot of force from his upper body when he's hand fighting with guys and, doing whatever he's got to do to get through the line. And in the fourth quarter, he's also going to have that endurance to still put out the same, not the same, but close to the same amount of power output when he's hand fighting and controlling the lineman and trying to get to the quarterback. So I tend to disagree, especially with Ross Tucker, but a lot of guys on that is that, well, why do they test it? But, in the same light, you can see if there's a D tackle who can only bench 225 for 15 reps, but there's a problem. If there's a wide receiver and he's hammering 225 for 20 or 25 reps, well, dude, he might be busting his ass. He might be looking at this as an opportunity to do something. So as far as football is concerned, I really, really think it has an application. And guys will complain. And another thing Tucker actually said, and I hear this all the time from parents, is, well, I don't get why people value the bench press because you're never laying on your back and pressing. Yeah, but you're never on a football field with a bar doing a power clean. You're never on a football field with a bar on your back. Like, that has zero, there's no basis to that argument, because it's not the fact that you're laying on your back. It's the fact that you're training that plane. Okay, so if I'm laying on my back, I'm targeting my chest, my pecs, my elbow extensors and everything. And when I'm benching, and that is the same exact plane that we see offensive linemen here, or defensive linemen, or even, what's funny is wide receivers and D-backs need it because they do a lot of hand fighting themselves to get off of guys, and when they're doing moves, and even when they're pulling a ball down, and they gotta have a good grip to catch the ball, but they gotta stay tight here. Guys with a good bench, they're gonna be able to pop that ball out, or they're gonna be able to keep the ball longer. So it does have a correlation, especially in football. I see a big-time correlation in sports like track. So you got, shot putters and discus throwers, and there's scientific evidence that a shot putter, if he increases his bench press, let's say from, a 300-pound bench press to a 380-pound bench press, his throws could go, let's say when he benches 300, he's taking throws around 13 meters, 50 centimeters. And when he benches 380, all of a sudden he's throwing 15, 20 to 16 meters. There's actually science that backs this up. So, same with a discus, it actually correlates even more, where it could go, the same numbers, 300 to like 380 to 400. A guy's discus could go from, let's say, around 50 meters up to 56, 57 meters. So there's a definite correlation with the bench press, transferring to those directly to those sports. Do I think that you have to bench press all the time, every single day? No, of course not. But it's an awesome lift. It's fun to do. It is fun to ask me, what did you bench? When the best thing for me too is also I like when kids come in. Hey, what's your best bench? You know, 9 times out of 10, the kid lies to me and tells me he's 50 pounds over. That's like the great American lie is, what's your bench? You know, well, my bench is actually 50 pounds less than what I just told you. Well, so okay, for me as a strength coach, I'm just, okay, we're gonna bench. Let's see if this kid is being honest or if he's not being honest. So we throw them on the bench, see where they're at. But that, you know, again, one thing that I do to prevent guys from walking around like internally rotated, guys who bench too much and don't do enough pulls, is we'll start doing a lot of pause benches in the hole where they got to retract their scap. You know, a lot of pull-ups, a lot of curl-ups, a lot of rope climbing, a lot of chest rows, a lot of one-arm rows, a lot of external rotation, a lot of pause dumbbell bench with a neutral grip. Here, that's going to stretch the pecs out, and especially things like discus, where the discus is back and there's going to be a huge stretch of the pec to keep that from tearing. You know, wide grip football bar benches or wide grip with dumbbells stretching wide almost like a fly. That's really going to stretch out the pecs, keep them from internally rotating, especially if you're working the upper back, doing a lot of trap work, doing a lot of snatches. You know, especially snatches, I think, really save your shoulders to keep benching more and more and more. So is it warranted to keep talking shit on the bench press? You know, I don't really think so. I think it's an awesome lift. I think it's fun to do. I think it's probably my favorite bench variation is a close grip incline or an incline bench. Those two lifts, you know, are the best bench variations, but I think the flat bench is awesome. I love my shot putters. We peak bounce benches really fast. We'll put a pad on their chest and they're bouncing it pretty hard to get good speed and to get the nervous system firing fast and to get reactive, to get a big stretch that's reacting quickly to keep recruiting more and more motor units and satellite cells so that they can peak really, really well. So yeah, you can use it as a peaking tool and you can use it to increase guys throwing the shot put. You can use it to increase a guy's throwing the discus. You can use it to improve a defensive or an offensive lineman. Any football player, you know, could benefit from the bench press because of the hand fighting involved, especially wrestlers. Every wrestler I talk to, when I have a kid who has a really good bench press, I can ask another wrestler, hey, how do you feel on the mat? Dude, he felt really, really strong. The bench press has a pretty good carryover to mat strength as well. You know, there's some kids that really do struggle to carry the bench press over to the mat, but they tend to not be, you know, as athletic, and they might not be as good at wrestlers. But the guys who are athletic and that do increase their bench tend to have really, really good mat strength. So that's my rant on the bench press. I love the bench press. I've been benching since I was 11 years old. So, I mean, I'm a little bit biased, but I don't think it's warranted to group the exercise with those tool shed meatheads that you see at Gold's Gym and LA Fitness. So put all that stuff out of the back of your head. Go hammer the bench press. Get big pecs. Feel good about yourself. Go talk shit on guys at the picnics and drop bombs in the shop.